Greetings, and today I have another Gwent video for you guys. So as you guys know, that the Master Mirror expansion has been announced and it is set to come out on June 30th, I think. But yeah, it's definitely going to be at the end of June. So we definitely have to check this out because it's been a while. I mean, it hasn't been too long since we got an expansion, but I think we're kind of due for a new one, which is pretty nice. So this expansion seems to revolve around Gwent Dim, aka Master Mirror. So I went ahead and saw the developers cut, but you know, I'll be going through sort of the new cards that they leaked and also the new keywords that are getting introduced into the game and sort of give you guys my sort of initial thoughts on it. You know, I can't really give you guys like a full-on in-depth explanation as to what I think about these cards because it's tough because we haven't seen the rest of the new cards just yet. You can really only base it off of the cards that we currently have in our pool of cards to select from when deck building. So it's going to be a little bit tough. So I actually haven't seen the expansion trailer yet. Never mind. If I saw the developer's cut, I saw the expansion trailer. It was like near the beginning. But I was actually a lot more focused at like what they wanted to what they had to say about it, I should say. So if you guys haven't already, you guys subscribe to this channel. If you are new and you guys are into Gwent content, would be greatly appreciated. And of course, you guys should follow me on Twitter and join my Discord if you guys want to get involved in conversations with me about, you know, stuff like this, Gwent decks, you know, stuff like that. Anything you guys want to talk about, really. Open book in Discord, so just want to hit me up there. Just hit me up at the server with the link. And yeah, other than that, let's get started with this expansion reaction. I am liking the music. I mean, it's Gwent Dim's theme. I've always found it so captivating.
Ah, hello. No, I fear this is no dream, my friend. Didn't actually think I would forget about you, did you? Me, who with but a whisper can swell a wave. Start a chain of events with consequences momentous. No, I never forget. And it's high time to pay the piper.
That was the expansion trailer. So I can't think straight. Okay. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna get water, so I'll actually be right back. Greetings. It's quite convenient, don't you think, that I made a return on a video that occurred just a few days before the announcement release that the god himself is returning. It's not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. It is destiny. I was destined to return because it is inevitable. The great one, the Master Mirror, Gwent Dim, is coming to Gwent in a much stronger fashion. Suddenly, I feel more excitement in my being. This is going to be a fun expansion, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, I have the great privilege of showing you myself, if you haven't already. Although I for sure know that most of you must have already feasted your eyes on greatness. We are going to skip the developers' comments because, quite frankly, this is the more important and more pressing matter at hand. Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on what looks like will be the face of the new expansion, Master Mirror. Take a look at those souls, those helpless souls behind him. Just soulless, all the souls that he's claimed throughout his time in the Witcher universe. But anyway, the art is just too good. I must cover his ability. So it has a keyword status known as Veil. And what Veil does, which will be brought up later, although I don't know why they brought up this card before they brought up the keyword, but I mean, hey, it's their game, not mine. I just serve the true god, the true Master Mirror himself. What Veil does is it allows this card to be immune to status effects, which means that it will not be hit by poison, it will not be hit by lock, which is good because his ability I think is too good to be locked. It doesn't deserve to be locked by the likes of Ox, by Letho, by anything Nilfgaard, by Derogare, by Aguara. Master Mirror rules them all. Anyway, his ability. You transform the leftmost card in your hand to a random legendary card from your faction that was not in your starting deck. Repeat this ability whenever you play the rightmost card from your hand. First of all, before I even get started, there is grammatical issues with this wording. And you know what? I get it. It's not the final print, but you know what? I am a man of honesty. Honesty is what I strive for. I must be honest about my opinions, but in terms of the actual ability itself, it's great. I love it. Just think about if you that's one of the biggest RNG cases ever. Imagine if you're playing a scoia'tael deck and you were getting Oak after Vernaciel after Oak after Barnabas after some Dryad card that Barnabas can make stronger to, let's say, a Zoltan. Now, of course, you only get so many turns in a round, which is why this card I think is fitting for its ability, because you definitely do not get to use it 10 times, that's for sure. Not even 9 or even 8. Because you need to play a card on pretty much the other side of your hand in order to redeploy his ability. Now, of course, that can totally ruin the sequencing of your turns, but I mean, what does it matter if you're just spawning really powerful legendaries? But who knows? You could even get like a 6 provision legendary. But I'm saying, for example, with scoia'tael, they have the Harmony keyword. As long as he transforms it into a card that has a tag that's unique, that's not on the field just yet, they get the Harmony boost. It's quite wonderful, don't you think? When it comes to monsters, he can transform them into some of the biggest, most ferocious units that the game has ever seen. He can even help out Nilfgaard if he wishes. He is a neutral card at full, he can go wherever he wants. He can create more status problems to units. He can create spies such as Joachim or Roderick. He can create, no, he can't create morale. That's something that he cannot touch. He cannot create morale. But he can create cards like Vincent that can absolutely destroy status affected cards. You know, and the list goes on. See, it's definitely a lot of RNG, and you definitely don't get to use it all 10 turns on a very long round. Otherwise, you know, the card's just too broken. But you know what? This card is super powerful. I love it. And not just because of the card, but because of who he is as a person. Because he is Master Mirror. This will be my last appearance until the release of the expansion, because quite frankly, I have no interest in pressing matters. Unless Master Mirror or Gontaro Dim are present. In which case I must return. But for now, I take my leave. Enjoy the rest of this video. He is watching. Yeah, I didn't tell you guys what the plan was going to be. The plan was actually going to be for me to sort of just go through the cards that they went through, because I'm going to think that you guys have already seen the video, this developer overview video. So I kind of just want to go through sort of all the cards and the keywords that they've sort of gone over. If you guys want to watch the video yourself, I will definitely leave a link in the description below if you guys want to go check that out. But otherwise, I'm here to just sort of hit you guys with the footnotes, you know, to give you guys a bit of the spark notes as to what I think could be the potential of these kinds of cards. So yeah, here we go. We are starting with Veil. We have Veil, which is a status that prevents units from getting statuses. I feel like seeing this, my initial thought tells me that Poison Nilfgaard isn't really gonna go anywhere. I have a feeling that's the reason why an ability like this has sort of existed in a sense. Just because that Poison Nilfgaard has always been a complaint So I feel like Veil is sort of like an answer to just straight up Nilfgaard. I feel like, because if you're looking at, okay, maybe it could be an answer to monsters, to vampires, but again, not a lot of people play monsters. Syndicate could also be an issue because they do have quite the selection of poison as well. I would say they'd have the second most selection of poisons after Nilfgaard, but like we're looking at the first place is up here, second place is here, third, fourth, fifth, like from third to sixth is like over here. Nilfgaard's all the way up here, so it's like, you know, that's really the most problematic status, really, when it comes to it, is Poison Nilfgaard. Really, like, I don't see people complaining about too many defenders because there really isn't too many defenders. Lock, I mean, again, Nilfgaard sort of has, they have this, essentially Nilfgaard has a status monopoly, which is absolutely insane because of everything else that they do that annoys people, like, you know, being able to manipulate the graveyard, manipulate the deck, manipulate the hand, manipulate everything, including the field. But this is like field manipulation overload. It's absolutely insane. But it's quite ironic that Veil itself is a status, which means it can get purified, and when you purify it, it can get poisoned. But I really doubt people are going to invest that extra purify just to get rid of a Veil from a unit. If we're looking at the example of Master Mirror, which was shown earlier, at 6 power, it can get destroyed by, you know, a card like the Coction or Parasite, which is just 6 provision cards. So you will have to take extra precautions to sort of protect Master Mirror. For example, like inserting a defender, having a unit ready for support, like, you know, a card that needed to boost it. For example, if you're playing him in Northern Realms, you better have Neneke as an example to sort of boost him, or Visigoda, or whatever. And yeah, so he definitely does need a little bit of investment if you want him to sort of get going. Otherwise, he can just be easily destroyed by a 6 provision card, and you don't really want that to happen to a 10 provision card, especially a card like Master Mirror. So that's sort of my initial thoughts on Veil. Let's move on to sort of the next thing that they cover in this video. I'm going by order, by the way. So we're going on order with this video. It's like whatever, just they release one by one. I have no specific sequence on my own because I feel like that would just take too long for me to, you know, go through. So here next we have Marlene de Trastamara. So this is an interesting one because in the very last time all my time I should say that I've been playing The Witcher 3, I never went through Blood and Wine in extensive detail, which means that I never knew the story behind Marlene de Trastamara. But I do know for a fact that I think she refused to give food to a beggar, I think, which was gone to Rodim, and then I think she may. The thing is, I'm not familiar with this lore in the Blood and Wine, but like I said, I've only been so invested in Hearts of Stone that by the time I got into Blood and Wine, the standalone Gwent already came out, and I sort of just jumped ship to just started playing Gwent immediately. But regardless, we have Marlene de Trastamara, a 6 provision for 6 power. It has Veil, similar to Master Mirror, and on order, you give a unit Veil. So essentially, Veil, I think, is well, I wouldn't say a more powerful shield, but like an alternate shield, you know? It would be pretty interesting, actually, if there was a card that could give you the choice of giving a unit Veil or Shield. Like, for example, deploy melee Veil, deploy range Shield. I don't know. That might be interesting in my opinion, you know, because you have units that maybe want to be protected from damage. You may want some to be protected by status effects. But Marlene seems to be the Veil equivalent of Lady of the Lake. If you guys don't know Lady of the Lake, she is a shield, gives a unit shield on order, so it's somewhat similar. And I think she's also 6 provision, 6 power, but nobody ever uses Lady of the Lake unless you're running a King Pogner deck, a meme Pogner deck. So yeah, so that's that on Marlene de Trastamara. Again, looks like they are giving you more means of protecting against cards like poison. So yeah, this should be interesting. We'll see what happens. So next, they went through another keyword, Rupture. At the end of owner's turn, damage this unit equal to its power, then remove this status. So we noticed this will be in an upcoming Skellige card that you'll see later on in about a few minutes after I sort of go on what I think about Rupture. Rupture is a decent way. It's actually a pretty good way of removal. Of course, that gives them a 1 countdown timer. This is a status in itself, which means that Purify is going to be needed. Now, Rupture can be prevented by Veil because it is a status. So essentially, any status that's not Veil is protected by Veil, you know, or from Veil. Protected is Veil protects any other status other than Veil. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so Rupture is probably going to be one of those statuses that, you know, you can't put on a unit with Veil. Otherwise, at the end of the owner's turn, the card will be, or the unit will be damaged equal to its power. Now, of course, you can get around it by hitting up armor on your units. So there is sort of a way, or maybe even giving it shield as well, because it is damage. So you got to be careful about that, because if you leave, and it's equal to its power too, not just its base power. So if you, this is a major tall punish status. So if you play your Oswald or something, like before like the very end turn, of course, because, you know, you gotta have a turn after that in order for Rupture to activate, then your Oswald could just end up being destroyed, and, you know, it's gonna be pretty insane. So they just added tall punish in a status, so that's gonna be crazy. I think, like, I think I'll find more decks where units won't be as greedy anymore, just because of this ability. For example, I know Poison Nilfgaard. I keep bringing up Poison Nilfgaard because I feel like they're addressing a lot of what Poison Nilfgaard does with these abilities. For example, the Thirsty Dame gets super boosted by all those statuses that Nilfgaard can inflict on your opponents, and essentially you place a Rupture status on the Thirsty Dame. If they can't purify it within a turn, that Thirsty Dame is gone, and all those points that you've worked so hard to build up is all gone, and it is destroyed. So, you know, that's crazy. It's essentially tall punish in a status. So that's what I think Rupture is. Next, we have Veteran. If you guys are not familiar with Veteran, this is a mechanic that was used in the old beta. At the start of round 2 and 3, increase the base power of this unit by 1. I'm not sure, I don't quite remember if it was as tame as this. I don't think it was, considering how chaotic closed beta was. But I think this is pretty interesting actually with Veteran. It'll essentially want to make you play your sort of units that you want to get strengthened early. So the first thing I'm thinking of right now is mid-range. Just imagine if you play Ceres round 1. Oh, but here's the thing though. Does the Veteran have to be in hand or on the field for it to be activated? Because imagine if it's in the graveyard, right? I don't think it matters where it is. I think as long as it starts round 2 and 3, then you boost it by 1. But the thing is, also another thing is, it could also be base. Like, the thing with base power is it is vulnerable to the likes of Vincent Mice, so because it is not boosted. So yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. We'll see how Veteran works out, but, you know, because of how low scoring Gwent is compared to its old beta counterpart, I think these extra 2 points for whatever, so essentially they're like carryover points pretty much for Skellige, and that's gonna be pretty insane. So, and depending on how many you put in your deck, you could get some crazy carryover value between round 1 and 3. So this should be interesting. I'm gonna say that for everything with this, because everything is new. Well, not everything is new. This is not that new. So going on ahead with one of the cards that has Veteran is Turg v Tertia. So it is a Veteran card, which means it will go up to 7 power by round 3, and on deploy you give an enemy unit Rupture. So essentially you Rupture a unit with 4 power in round 3 with Veteran at 7, then you pretty much get, you know, sort of 11 for 11. But with the way you can probably use this is you play Turg V in a second wind deck, you give an enemy unit Rupture, you kill them, so you've already gained value from destroying that unit if they don't purify it or shield it. Then you get that value. So let's say, for example, Egern. Egern's a prime example, because monsters always play Egern round 1. Well, not always, but, like, you know, whenever they get the chance. You Rupture Egern, if they don't purify it, that's 13 points, that's 17 for 11 already, and that's just the first time. By round 3, if you decide to res him back with second wind, he'll be up to 7 power, and you can deploy that Rupture ability again. That's actually pretty insane value, and you don't really need to fulfill any sort of condition to sort of get that thing going, as long as, you know, it exists, right? Like, if it gets banished, it's gone. If it gets banished, it's absolutely gone. So, you know, you can't really do anything about that, but as long as it remains in the game somewhere on the board, then the Veteran ability will execute, and this card will get even more value. So I can see this card being in some crazy plays, crazy meme decks. I'm probably thinking of some right now, but again, hard to judge until more cards get released. So definitely keep an eye out on the socials for that, for sure, from some of your favorite Gwent partners. Unfortunately, I am not a Gwent partner, so I am not part of that list. But yeah, I'll be excited as a fan of the game as well. So yeah, that's the story with what I think on Turk v Tertia. Next, we have Echo. So at round start, move this card from the graveyard to the top of the owner's deck and you give it Doomed. So it's essentially a res. Like it's just a res card, I think. It's a card that can res itself pretty much. So I mean, again, it's hard to tell. It's hard to give an example because you don't know what cards have Echo just yet, but I can see some pretty crazy combos. Again, that really depends on what ability, what card gets this ability, but I mean, in some ways, it could actually hinder your ability to draw. That's actually the first thing I'm thinking of right now when it comes to Echo, because that's one less card, unless you absolutely want / need this Echo card. I really think that could hinder your chances of drawing like another card. You know what I mean? So, you know, instead of getting 3 fresh new cards to draw, you get this Echo card and 2 cards, which means your chances of getting the card that you actually want in the round that Echo's activated, it decreases. So that might be a bit of a could be a problem, really depends. If you don't thin your deck very well, then it's definitely going to be a problem. But if you find that you thin very well and you're okay to spare an extra card that you already know you're going to get, even though it might not be the one that you're looking for just yet, then, you know, this ability is perfect then. It's perfect for you, because if you absolutely want it back to your deck to finish off a combo or, you know, start a combo with a different set of cards, then this card is perfect for it. So let's go take a look at one of the cards that has this ability. And we're already seeing memes of Oneiromancy. Essentially, it's the meme where the guy and a girl are a couple, and the guy takes a look around, like turns his back, and then sees another girl, and then his girlfriend's like looking at him, blah, blah, blah. The jealous girlfriend is Royal Decree, and the girl he's looking at is Oneiromancy, and you can see why. It's essentially 2 Royal Decrees in one card. It is absolutely crazy. I already love Royal Decree on its own because of what it can do, but Oneiromancy is double Royal Decree and it's absolutely crazy. Sure, you can't play it a 3rd time, because if you play it a 3rd time, it's absolutely insane. But being able to play it a 2nd time in one game, it's going to be really good. And I will happily take that in exchange for 2 extra provisions in my deck. I will really happily take it. This is like double consistency compared to Royal Decree. You can almost take away Mata, although this is kind of expensive, so you may want to keep Mata to guarantee yourself to draw this, because without Mata, you'll have to rely on I forgot the name of that special card. The artifact that allows you to play any special card. Forest of the Wisp or something like that? I'm not quite sure. Excuse me. But yeah, I can see this card being included in so many decks. I don't think it's going to be an auto-include, but again, it's hard to tell until we see, you know, more cards down the line, down the month, I think. So, yeah. Next, we have Devotion. Devotion, you trigger this ability if your starting deck has no neutral cards. Now, Devotion is going to be such a dead giveaway because it'll tell your opponent that I don't have Erden in this deck. I don't have Igni in this deck. I don't have Geralt or Rivia in this deck. I don't have Yennefer. I don't have Triss. I don't have any of those iconic Witcher characters in this deck. So that's essentially what Devotion tells you, because you gotta have all faction-based cards in your deck. I'm not trying to say specific faction, because, you know, this can also apply, because I can already see this being a very powerful keyword in Arena. Now, of course, with Arena, you want to draft like the cards like Royal Decree, Dandelion Poet, Witcher, Geralt, Triss, Yennefer, etc. But I mean, Devotion can also be pretty insane too, because you can have cards from all 6 different factions, and Devotion will still trigger because you just have no neutral cards. So I actually think this keyword, if placed on some very crazy abilities, can do some very crazy things. So let's go take a look at one of the cards that does have this keyword, and that is Oak Critters, which is a scoia'tael card. So deploy melee, give an enemy unit bleed, ranged, spawn a base copy of self in this row. Devotion, you use both abilities. So if we carefully break down this card, it's 4 for 2 base, okay? On melee, it becomes a 5 for 4. And on range, it becomes a 7 for 4. Now, that absolutely increases the ceiling of 4 provision cards now in Gwent because of the Devotion abilities. But this is what you give up. You give up having to use Geralt Igni on certain control decks. You give up Triss Telly plus Bone Talisman for, let's say, a Swarm deck, for example. Or Triss Lacerate for a control deck, which pick your poison. You miss out on, well, you wouldn't want to use Triss for any reason. You miss out on cards like Royal Decree, but it's scoia'tael, so you have cards like Call the Forest, you have cards like Fob that can call the forest, you cannot have Mata. That's another key thing too. Mata is now, you cannot have Mata if you want to trigger the devotion ability. So Mata, you won't be able to guarantee yourself to draw Great Oak anymore. You'll have to use Call of the Forest. So you'll have to, you know, rely more in the powers of your actual faction in order to get these devotion abilities off. So that's sort of the trade-off for an increased ceiling for what would otherwise should be like a 6/4 card or an 8/4. But again, that the 8/4 is quite conditional. Like an example is the Mahakam Marauders or Berserkers. I don't quite remember the Vitality 2 and then Vitality 4 on Bonded. That's the condition. This one, this one I think the condition is a bit more strict, in which that you cannot have neutral cards. So, you know, we'll see what happens. It really depends on what we get throughout the line, and of course I'll be covering them too in future videos as well. Next, we have a keyword, which I'm gonna assume this is for Nilfgaard, and it's called Conspiracy. Trigger this ability if target unit has spying. Now, of course, everyone complains about Nilfgaard. Let's just get that out of the way. That's the big elephant in the room. Everyone complains about Nilfgaard. But the fact that Nilfgaard is getting spy support, I'm not mad about that. In fact, I love it. I love spies back in closed beta. I love spies in Witcher 3 Gwent. Like, come on. If you guys didn't like spies in Witcher 3 Gwent, then you clearly weren't playing Gwent properly. Or you're playing it too properly, you know? There's such thing as being too honest. There is such a thing. But yeah, so if a target unit has spying, then you apply then the ability for Conspiracy works. But the thing is, it only works on spying units. That's sort of the downfall of here. That's kind of, it's this wordplay right here, man. It's just so perfect being in the Master Mirror expansion. The unit itself has to have spying. So for example, you play Joachim Duet before you play a card with Conspiracy, and then whatever ability it has, it kind of goes to, it can only go to what do you call it, to Joachim or Roderick or whatever. Now that'd be pretty crazy. Imagine you run a Kahir deck, okay? If I would to think that one of this Conspiracy abilities, and I have a feeling it might be, if a certain card had Conspiracy, destroy this unit. Oh man, you play Kahir, you garrison the crap out of that spy for Kahir to get increased, and then you just destroy it from a Conspiracy ability, and it just absolutely goes nuts. So again, that could be a crazy meme combo that we might try out. Who knows? I think that kind of ability has existed in the past, like in closed beta maybe. Call me if I'm wrong there, but I mean, I can already see that being a thing. But that's of course really depends on the cards that we get. But anyway, let's take a look at a card with this ability. Angry Mob, deploy, damage an enemy unit by 2, Conspiracy, boost self by 2. Again, we're seeing that threshold of 4 provision cards going up, but there has to be a condition. The condition has to be that you must have no neutral cards in your deck. So, but it is Nilfgaard. They have such a wide arsenal of weapons that they don't really need the neutrals to help them out. But here, essentially, you have to target a spying unit for its threshold to go up to 7. So you might actually want to play this card after you've played an Emissary, a Duchess's Informant, Roderick, Joachim. The list goes on and on and on. So that's essentially the idea with this that I'm seeing. But, you know, we're seeing that pattern of increased threshold to units, which should otherwise be a bit lower, in exchange for a certain, you know, condition. Like this one will be deck limiting, whereas, you know, other ones would have been bonded abilities and etc. Next, we have a card called Symbiosis. Whenever you play a nature card, spawn a Wandering Treant in a random allied row and set its power equal to the number of units with Symbiosis that you control. So this one will be interesting. I feel like this could potentially be a swarm mechanic, and the reason why I say that is because if you swarm a field with units with Symbiosis, right, and man, I'm already losing myself in the word. Okay, so if you play a bunch of units with Symbiosis on the field, right, and you play a nature card right after, and then it summons a Wandering Treant, well, it's going to be an oak, equal to the amount of Symbiosis units. It's essentially like Harmony in a one-timer. I don't want to say a one-timer, but I don't even know the part of the words I'm saying. But essentially, if you have let's say you have like a row full of Symbiosis units, okay, nine of them, and then you play a nature card, and then a 9-power oak comes out. So imagine what kind of value that would add to a scoia'tael deck that, you know, already has to say, you know, cards like Harmony. So again, this is all speculation from my end because we haven't seen too many cards. We haven't seen any cards at all actually that, you know, that we could see ourselves comboing. Like I said, I can only base it off of cards that we have in our current pool. So essentially, I'm making up, you know, I'm making up cards that have this ability, and I'm just telling you guys sort of the potential of how crazy these abilities can get. So Symbiosis will not be any different. Now, of course, you're not gonna have a Treant that has a power more than X plus, I think, 17, because you gotta have an extra space. But I'm also gonna assume that there's not enough units with Symbiosis to fill up an entire field anyway, but I'm just saying that's just worst case scenario. But that extra power that it adds, even if it's just 3 or 4, I think it already adds extra value to the power that the nature card, whatever it is that you play, already brings. So I think that would be absolutely crazy. The only downside I can see to this is, since you are spawning a Wandering Treant and you're not actually playing it, Harmony doesn't trigger. That's pretty much the only weakness to it, at least from what I can see, just like looking at it straight up without, you know, any sort of looking at any of the cards. But yeah, so looking at a couple cards that have Symbiosis, we have Young Dryad, Doomed, and Symbiosis. I feel like this is gonna be a token. This might be a token. There might be a card that summons this Young Dryad. And by the way, Gwent kind of upped their artwork game here a little bit. I really loved it. Like all the arts that we were seeing, like just throughout, it was great. I was enjoying the art, like, but that goes without saying, right? So I didn't really want to say anything. But anyway, here we go. The next card, we have Squirrel. So it's just a straight up squirrel, I guess. Like, I guess we were overthinking it. We thought it was like that was Philippa's owl or that was Eorvith's squirrel. Nah, it's just a straight up squirrel. But its ability, I think, is going to be bonkers. And the reason why I think it's going to be bonkers is because that means that the Cadwin Arbalest, no, not Cadwin, the Arbalest card in Nilfgaard is no longer unique, because now you have the ability, any faction has the ability to banish a card from the opponent's graveyard. This card is a beast, which means you can't put it in a Skellige Beast meme deck. So, but it's the fact that it can banish a card from the opponent's graveyard. You can get rid of Scenario. So essentially means Nilfgaard will be able to do double Scenario. But then again, I don't know if a Seer is going to get changed or if Scenario is going to get changed by the expansion comes out. I feel like by the fact that they created cards like these, I don't think they're going to be gone. It's just speaking my mind. I think that might be the case. But like, this card has potential to remove Crowmother, it has potential to remove Egern, it has potential to remove like Waters of Broccolon against on a Mystic Echo deck. It has essentially any card that you think about rezzing or like coming back as carryover point. The squirrel, a small little tiny creature, can just remove it. Like, imagine a squirrel ruining a Masquerade Ball, huh? Because you can't have it twice. It's like the squirrel's like saying, nope, you can't have a Masquerade Ball twice. Sorry, I'm only allowing 1 per game, and that's it. That's essentially what this card's telling us with its deployability. A lot of me loves it, but a part of me is not gonna like it, because if it affects Egern and Oswald, of course, like, I can, let's say, like, you know, between eating an Egern versus eating a Pugo, it is 3 points, but I mean, it could be the difference between winning and losing a game because of how low scoring this game is, you know? But, you know, I love this guy. Pretty cool, pretty funny. But yeah, I think that's everything that's been leaked today. Again, if you guys want to get involved in the conversation about this, of course, commenting in the comment section below is an option, but of course, leave a like if you guys did enjoy this video. And of course, join me on Discord. That's what I was going to say. That's where you guys can hit me up on sort of your thoughts on this. I like having pretty strong, long convos with the people that have joined me there, and we talk a lot about Gwent stuff, Witcher stuff, you know, new expansion stuff, custom card stuff, and yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, that'll be sort of my initial thoughts on everything that's been leaked so far. Let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comment section below as always, and of course, subscribe for more Gwent content. And other than that, this is Enzo signing out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.